Welcome, everybody, to episode number 258. Whoa, 258. Can you believe we're already there? We're almost to episode 300. This is crazy. So tonight, are you utilizing a superintendent's best support system? Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I really hope you're doing well. I don't just say that. What they teach you when you start doing podcasting, at least in the best books, is they say, draw out or describe your ideal listener, the people that you think, not who I want somebody to be, but who you think you're talking to. And so when you start a podcast, it's really helpful. And this is what I do when I'm thinking about you is I'll think about that person out there, that person that's really great at what they do, very disciplined, high performers, high-speed people, wanting to change the world, taking care of their families, just wanting that little nudge, that support, that second voice that says, yes, it's okay to be excellent. When I say, I hope you're doing well out there, I really mean that I hope you're doing well. I hope these podcasts are helping. I hope you feel supported in your voice to go be great, because that's not a fluffy thing that I say. There have been some key people in my life that have said, Jason, you're going to change this industry. And after a while, I started hearing that instead of all of the negative voices in my head. And it's brought me so much happiness and joy and fulfillment that I want to say one more time. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're getting what you deserve. I hope you're working towards your future. I hope you're not shortcoming yourself, or whatever you call it, shortchanging yourself, sorry. I hope you're not ignoring your needs. I hope you're getting everything that you deserve, want, and have coming to you in life. I really hope that your hard times are teaching you or other people around you something. I hope everything is working towards and for your good, for your eternal, not just your happiness here on earth, but your eternal happiness, fulfillment, and enjoyment. I mean that. If you ever spend any time around me, you will know that I mean that sincerely, with conviction and with sincerity. So let's go ahead and talk about some things tonight. But first, before I get started, I need to clear something up. I've gotten some feedback recently saying, you compliment certain companies, but you don't compliment others. I want to be clear about something. I'm only ever going to say positive things about any of the companies that I've ever worked for. Whether somebody believes me or not, and you can make your own decisions, I am criticizing industry normal practices. I am criticizing people that actively work against where we're attempting to go. If somebody's going as fast as they can, not going as fast as they should, doing their best, not perfect, I'm never critical of that. I'm critical of concepts. I'm not critical of people. I'm critical of concepts and negative trends, bad behaviors. I'm not critical of any of the companies that I've ever worked for. So somebody the other day, appropriately so, I'm not being critical, was like, you say a lot of nice things about DPR. You say a lot of things about, Hensel Phelps. Why don't you say something about Oakland? Well, I haven't gotten permission to say anything either way until just now. So had that conversation. I'm only ever going to say positive things about any of the companies that I've ever worked for. Hensel Phelps, DPR, Oakland Construction. So in everybody's own way, they're absolutely amazing and my favorite companies, right? If you want to talk about one of the best, most consistent builders, that's Hensel Phelps. If you want to talk about one of the most progressive and positively cultured companies that really is into advanced cultures, teaming, and integrated project delivery and lean, that's DPR. If you want to talk about a company with some of the best people, with wonderful self-perform and some of the best just ground up, self-performed concrete builders that I've ever been around, with a company that's really wanting to advance in a fast manner and take care of their customers, that's Oakland. So if somebody's upset at me for just saying what's on my mind, I do want to say two things. One, sincerely, I apologize. I don't keep track of making sure that everything's equal. And the other thing is, I want to say, I feel positively about all of my experiences. The things that I was able to do at Hensel Phelps with field engineering, with superintendents and field operations was amazing. The things that I was able to learn at DPR about lean and scaling lean and creating standard systems and stable systems like the integrated control system, over the top great. The things that we did with advanced boot camps and training and scaling field operations culture and at Oakland were over the top fantastic. So when somebody the other day asked me, to talk about my track record, I was signing up with a company on a long-term retainer, and somebody asked me about, well, do you have examples of where these things have worked? And it only does me good to talk about and brag about the companies that I've worked with, and you can in your spheres talk about and brag about the companies that you've been with. If I say, this company is my favorite company or one of my favorite companies, which is actually, to be clear, what I said. That doesn't disparage anyone else. That means I praise things when I see them, and we should all praise things when we see them, and we should all praise each other when we see them, because when we see them, that's going to incentivize us to head into a better, more positive direction. And so I'm not lecturing anybody. I'm saying if somebody was confused about, hey, well, I mentioned this person, I don't mention this. Well, I only recently got permission to mention some of the other people. So I'm going to say positive things all the time, and I'm going to praise people all the time. So I'm going to be super positive because I would have never worked for companies that I didn't appreciate and love. And throughout my life, when I talk about, I fired a certain client, or I fired a company, or people do this or that, I promise you, these are things that I'm talking about from a general industry standpoint. So I do want to be clear. Sometimes people have thought, Jason, you get a little accusatory on your podcast. No, I get passionate. And I'm talking about it in such a general way that I never even think that it could be associated with one person or offend one person. So if that ever came across that way, I apologize. Really, I've gotten direct feedback from some of my closest friends that they like me talking when I'm in that passionate mode. They like when Schroeder comes out. They like when they hear me and my voice. And so I've really tried hard, really attempted to just be authentically and naturally me. And so that's what you're hearing. So if you ever hear, well, Jason got pretty passionate on there, I feel like he's condemning me. No, hold on. I'm condemning concepts. I'm condemning behaviors. I'm condemning general trends in the industry. I want us all to be better. And, quite frankly, if somebody feels like, hey, and the other thing is I'm not perfect. I'm just on a podcast doing my best, right? But if somebody feels a little bit guilty about something because they're heading in that direction, which I've said may not be, at least it deserves looking into, then that's obviously something that's supposed to trigger people to do better. Coaches, I'm coaching, I'm sharing, I'm learning from you, right? Coaches move people forward. Sometimes that's easy and positive and fun. Sometimes that's difficult. But to be clear, and I want this to be the official on the record, I have nothing but positive feelings for any of the companies where I've worked, 100%. So I want to make sure that gets forward. I just want connection and appreciation and love and kindness for any company that I've ever worked at. In fact, the other thing is just a little bit of transparency here. I'm not being trashy. I'm just being open. I was so young, didn't go to school, didn't really, and this isn't an excuse because it's on me, didn't really have life training, didn't really have like all of those basics that normal human beings have when I was working at Hensel Phelps. Anytime somebody's like at Hensel Phelps is like, oh, I know you, because a lot of people still go through the training videos that I provided. A lot of people at Hensel Phelps know me. I'm like, ooh, was it positive or was it negative? I learned so much, made so many mistakes. And everyone saw me grow up to be like this punk kid to somebody else. And I always wonder, what kind of reputation do I have? At DPR, I know I have like a really, really positive, everything was positive reputation. At Oakland, everyone remembers me. It was very, very positive. I don't have any dark clouds or things like that. I want to say that for anybody, I have been transparent about all of the things that I've been through. I appreciate all of the nurturing and loving and growth and training that I received for every company that I've ever been a part of. I'm passionate to help those companies and the people in those companies and the whole industry. So I hope that wasn't droning on too long. I really hope that people have, forgiven me for my sins in the past, which I've been super transparent about as I forgive them. And we all move forward together, because at the end of the day, I just want close connection, strong relationships with any of the companies I've worked with. It would never be a problem now in the last 8 years. We've just had wonderful relationships. Any company I ever do work with, I just want everybody to feel supported. So if I don't mention you 100%, you either haven't given me permission to do so, or it's by accident. I absolutely love and praise all of the great things that each individual company uniquely provides all of their people. So let's go ahead and move forward. I appreciate you taking time to do that. A reminder, Elevate Construction, we provide project recovery, training and boot camps, consulting, anything with construction operations, design build, IPD, general operations, anything. If you have a question, you have a need, please reach out to us and let us know. We're able to help and to support you in your journey. And if you ever if you want to attend a boot camp, I need to put you on the list for when they come up, so that I can say, yep, okay, here, we'll let you know as soon as the next one is available, or let's go ahead and get one scheduled in your area. So let's go ahead and talk about right now one of the things that I'm excited about in life. I've been working with companies and doing consulting and things for a lot of years. I am recently embarking on some very large relationships with some large contractors that I personally, and you can't always predict this, right? But the 3 companies I'm working with are high speed. Like, they care about their people. Oh, they're just jamming people. They haven't given me permission to say who they are, so I won't. But I'm excited about these large retainers. For the next 4 weeks, actually, I'm flying out to do the first introductory meetings with at least those. And then we get on a more stable system throughout the month. And I'm very, very, very excited about this. I've got everything packed. Every time I take a trip, I take some of my kids with me. They stay at the hotel while I'm out working. We go all out. Prepare ahead of time. I mean, it is just a jam. And so I'm really looking forward to these interactions with companies where on a long-term basis, we're going to make a huge difference together for their field operations, as they learn from me and I learn from them, and we together do things that none of us could do alone. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. So that's one thing that I'm super excited about. Let me also talk about some feedback. So this was some feedback I've been saving for a little bit. Let me read this. This was about the book, Elevating Construction Superintendents, which I very much appreciate. That book is making an impact, and it's spreading and scaling. So I do want you to know, all of you out there who share the audiobook, who buy books, the companies, you who buy books, you're helping that book get out and about to everyone, and for that to scale and share. And I've only heard positive things in the sense that, people are like, I want all superintendents to be like this. Wow, this is such a help. Wow, I wish I would have had this when I was around. Trade partners are loving it. Craft workers are loving it. Foremen are loving it. GCs are loving it. Even non-industry folks are loving this book. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. So here's the review that I got. Raising the Bar Towards Excellence was the title. 5 stars. This is one of my favorite construction books of all time. The principles laid out in Jason Schroeder's work will serve anyone in the design and construction industry interested in achieving exceptional work. I highly recommend you pick it up and raise the bar to higher standards today. I'm using it in my work, and the feedback from my partners has been positive, encouraging, and supportive. I really like the principle and supporting story organization of the book. It reminds me of Dale Carnegie's famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, work that I'm equally a fan of. Stories are the best way to support learning, and Jason delivers powerful ideas, insights, and experiences in this book. And all I can say is, wow, what a payday. Thank you for taking the time to provide some feedback. You make this all worthwhile. A little vulnerable moment. Like, it is one of the scariest things that I ever did was publish that book, because everybody's either going to love it or hate it or be somewhere in between. And you're kind of putting a part of yourself out there, and it's scary because, for those of us, and I've been guilty of this in the past, that put too much stock in what people think. It can be devastating if you don't get a positive, response. And I'm not saying I need always a positive response, but going through the experience of having that being helpful to people has been a positive thing in my life. And I just want to say thank you to those who have taken some time to let me know, so that at least I know either way where you are. I just want to say I really, really appreciate it. So here's some conflict for tonight. You're not using one of the most helpful positions available to a superintendent, and you should be able to. You deserve it. So now, let me tell you just a couple of fun things from the Empire State Building. So if you go to the Empire State Building or read a book called Building the Empire State, there are some really neat graphics and really neat concepts in there. Like in that book, I got the concept of using runners, and that's specifically something I'll talk about tonight. In that book, they talk about Takt planning. They talk about flow. They talk about just-in-time deliveries. They talk about railway cars on the floors, which is where we got the concept of clear access ways and making sure that supply chains are not only complete to the job, but actually from the delivery point to the point of work, point of operation. There's just idea after idea after idea. It's really great. A couple of the things that I really appreciated in this was, number one, the person in charge of the overall project was the superintendent. And if you look at the org chart that they had there, it was really, really, it was really, really neat to look at that. The other one is the concept of runners. So they had stenographers, they had, I think that's a typist, yes, they had stenographers, but the superintendent also had runners, people that would go out and get data, provide instruction, come back with information, so the superintendent could lead the job. Now, field engineers are not exactly runners, but it does indicate the need for help. Like for instance, I don't know if you've ever thought this, but I have. If you've ever looked at or thought of a high-powered general superintendent or a high-powered operations manager or project director, if they had personal assistants, people that are passionate about being a personal assistant, that are organized and can really help and schedule meetings and scale communication and stuff, I'm like, okay, so I'm just thinking about this logically here. So a general superintendent, total cash compensation, you're anywhere. And I am not making these numbers up. I know this for a fact. You're anywhere from $240,000 a year total cash comp, or you can actually, with some of the people that hit the really good luck at the right times in their career, you're talking 380. I even know of situations where we're talking 450. Right? We're talking a lot of dough. Right? So let's even just assume that we're at 320 total package. Okay, real high powered general superintendent. Let's just say we're at 320. A year. Now, are you telling, and I'm not criticizing, please don't get all offended at me, but are you telling me that a personal assistant at $45,000 a year couldn't help increase at least 25%, by 25%, this high-powered general superintendent or operations director or project director or executive that's making 320? I mean, the math just speaks for itself. So when I'm reading this book about the Empire State, I'm like, why would we not get help for some of our high-speed people? By the way, high-speed is a saying that I got from a really great builder on the East Coast. He says high-speed, and I've kind of stolen that a little bit, so I hope you don't mind. Anyway, so like somebody who's really high-speed, we can speed them up with some helpers. So in a like manner, I'm always like, wait a minute. Why don't we speed up our superintendents and make them more successful? And people probably get tired of hearing me talking about field engineers because they're like, we don't have field engineers. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even know what it is. Please define what that is. Okay, let me back up. So in my world, where I grew up at HP, you had office engineers and field engineers. And then when an office engineer or a field engineer learned to get to a point where they could manage all the finances and procurement, change orders, owner billings, things like that, they became a project engineer. And then they would become an area superintendent. And then they could go be a project superintendent or a project manager. It was a very structured system, which I liked because Hensel Phelps forced you to have office and field experience. I really liked that pattern. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a trained Hensel Phelps person, even though I don't work there anymore. And I don't know if somebody would be offended if I called myself that, but I'm just saying I was trained by those people. If I was born in South Africa or in Nicaragua or in Canada or whatever, nobody would expect me to not say I'm Canadian. You know what I mean? They would not get offended at that. I'm saying I was born in Hensel Phelps. And so I will always have a portion or most of my mindset be, centered in that direction. I'm telling you, that's how I came up. I was programmed, bred, designed, brainwashed, trained to work with field engineers. I did one job as a lead superintendent without field engineers, and I swear before all things holy, I will never do that again. It was the worst thing I've ever had to experience in my life when it comes to work. I'm being serious. Like it is not fun. It is not fun to be a superintendent and to have to do the layout, the control, the checking, the drawings, the coordination, and the planning, and the leading, and the. No. If you want to be super successful in our companies, we will at least think. So if you don't ever do this, don't think Jason's mad at you or that I'm being negative. I'm saying we at least need to think about having a field engineering program. We have to think in that direction. And so the companies that have the best superintendents are most of the time the companies that have the best builder program. They have a field engineering program. A field engineer is a counterpart to an office or a project engineer. They spend most of their time in the field. They do the layout, meaning the physical layout and control. Control is layout. They do layout and control. Lift drawings, meaning coordination drawings, they draft them themselves. And then frontline quality and safety management under the direction of the superintendents. That is the builder position. That is what a field engineer is. When I talk about field engineering, I'm saying that builder position is what I'm talking about. Wes Crawford so I'll just give credit where credit is due. Please don't get offended at me. I opened by saying that. So Hensel Phelps has been doing field engineering for decades, for decades. And Wes Crawford did some sabbaticals and wrote a book called Construction, Surveying, and Layout, or what's called the Field Engineering Methods Manual, based off of what they did at Hensel Phelps. Now, there are other companies that have field engineers. All of you out there who have field engineers, I praise you. All of you who don't have field engineers, I still praise you. However, you could make life easier on yourself. And even if you think you don't have the structure or the culture or the money, I promise you do. If you want the best superintendents, you will start a field engineering program. So that's it. I'm telling you that because I love you. I want you to succeed. I'm not sitting out here in my shed at 10 o'clock at night, sometimes 11, 12, not getting enough sleep to tell you these things just for like self-aggrandizement. I don't get paid for this podcast. I'm here to tell you the truth. That means I don't have a sponsor telling me what to tell you. I'm telling you the truth. You want the best supers, you will start a field engineering program, or you will hire people that have had foreman, builder, or field engineering or survey experience. That's just how it goes. That's observation and data support what I'm saying. And you can go do your own studies behind that. So here's what I'm saying. Why not get the right help? Eventually, even if you have a 10-year journey getting this done, why not get the help? And I will say that when this works, it works. Is it easy? No. Is anything in life easy? No. Why do we have field engineers in a company? To make future superintendents. Why do we have field engineers in a company? To assist the superintendent and to reduce their load. Why do we have field engineers in a company? To create builders and to create a builder culture and environment. Do we have field engineers because they're better at layout? Do we have field engineers because they're better at drafting? Do we have field engineers because they're better at safety and quality? No, absolutely not. So if you're like, I know what Jason's saying, but we're not going to do a program because I can just hire that out for surveyors. I can just hire our BIM department to do that. Hey, I love you. That's not the point. The point is, do you want to homegrow supers? Every single person I've ever talked to, no. So hold on. That's way false. Sorry, everybody. Every person I've talked to, every person in construction I've talked to about their construction business in the last 2 months has said they're being held hostage because there aren't enough supers and they're afraid of losing their supers. And if they have a couple of dissenter bad apple supers, they are afraid to fire them because they don't have enough. Well, here's the deal. Here's what I'm telling you. Start home growing your own supers by having a field engineer program. Let's go. I will have the book Elevating Construction Senior Superintendents written in the next 3 or 4 months. I'll have the book Elevating Construction Field Engineers written by the end of the year. I'm pushing this stuff out to you as fast as you can. Not all from me, but from observation, from input from some of the best builders in the industry. Get yourself a field engineering program if you want to do that. Homegrow your superintendents. Stop being held hostage, because that way you can either really coach and change the supers that are holding you hostage, or you can invite them to go work somewhere else, and you can have some of the best, most elite supers stay at your company. So tonight's podcast is all about, how can a field engineer best support a superintendent? And I'll just give credit where credit is due, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but there's a real good buddy of mine, Steve Snedeker. So he's a fantastic superintendent. He worked at Hensel Phelps. Now he works at Oakland. I'm not going to tell you what his role is, but he's general superintendent material all the way. A fantastic builder. I was privileged to work with him when he was a field engineer and do some teaching. Since then, he's constantly taught me, and he and I have done boot camps together. I love Steve, just great. And he taught me this concept of the user's guide for field engineers. And what he was teaching is we need to be clear with superintendents how a field engineer can help them. So I'm going to go through this and just close out with a little story. So the general role of a field engineer is they are a provider of information for our craft workers, whether they're internal or whether they're trade partners, and to provide information and to support those roles so that you have that person planning and preparing information so that we can create flow with our trades. A very wise vice president told me the other day, Jason, it's probably not the integrated control system. It's probably the integrated production control system, meaning we have to find ways to get production. We can get that in a couple of ways. We need our quality systems to prepare work. We need materials there. We need our supply chains done right. We need Takt planning to create flow. We need Last Planner and Scrum to really do the integrated commitments and production control on a weekly basis. We need better training for our foremen and for our workers. We need more stable environments. And we absolutely have to, as another piece to that, have field engineers. This isn't a magic bullet and all of a sudden we create, production for our craft. There's a couple of key things that we have to have here by way of support. So a field engineer is a builder position where they train to be future superintendents and where they can experience building right then and there. But as they are doing it, they help the superintendent in unspeakable, meaning untrackable ways. It's so impactful that I can't even really wrap my words around it as I'm attempting to explain it to you. So here are a couple of the things that field engineers help the project and the superintendent with. Number one, lift drawings. So lift drawings include your control plan. Where's your primary, secondary, and working control? Where are your grid lines going to be used throughout all of the floors? Where are we going to post the finished floors, right? And then also working on lift drawings for concrete, but also masonry. And then when you're out of those superstructure foundation kind of scopes, a field engineer should be putting together your feature of work checklists or your feature of work visual boards so that every crew, or putting them together with them, so every crew knows exactly where everything needs to be. So a field engineer will take everything from, basically like if you're going to go build a wall, and I've done podcasts on lift drawings before. Hey, here's the embed drawings. Here are the penetrations. Here's the rebar shops. Here's this, here's that. Here's the mechanical drawings. Everything pulling it into one drawing so that they, number one, know what they're building. Number two, vet all the issues. And number three, can provide a drawing to the craft, right? So field engineers can do that for concrete, for masonry, for in-wall rough-in, for backing, for all kinds of different things. Ceiling coordination drawings, they can help you with your BIM efforts. It is fantastic for a field engineer to prepare these drawings for key areas on your build, on your projects, especially your most difficult areas. So the other thing is field engineers will work under the lead field engineer or whoever you have at your company doing this to establish primary control, secondary control for the building, and working control to make sure that all of your grid lines going up the building are in the right spot. They will traverse the primary control. They will lock in your baselines outside for your grid lines outside of your building nicely, and they will be able to put line and grade on anything that you need inside the building, on any of the components. Also, from a QC standpoint, field engineers do your pre-pour checklists. They do your quality checklist. They walk with inspectors. When you're doing in-wall inspections before closing up the walls, they participate in that. Overhead ceiling inspections. They are the frontline managers, leaders, engineers when it comes to quality. And it is fantastic to have this kind of help because superintendents plan and execute work. They are planners. They are executors. Field engineers are builders. How hard is it for superintendents when they have to not only plan, attend meetings, deal with the owner, oh, by the way, go out and check those embeds, make that drawing, do their own layout. We are burning our, and I talk a lot about work 50, 55 hours. Quite frankly, that's just not possible if you don't have the right help. So we have to get the right help. I'm highly recommending field engineers for this. So let's continue with the QC role. So production tracking, trend charts, really high risk features of work. All of this quality control can be bird dogged day in and day out by a field engineer. Also, safety. If you're like, I want to make sure all pre-test plans are filled out, guess who's going to help you with that? Your field engineer, helping to mentor them with pre-test plans and paperwork in the field. Field engineer, yes, superintendents will do the sign-offs, but they can make sure that they're all set apart. And field engineers are there on a daily basis, and they can be brainwashed, yes, I said that word, brainwashed, into really doing the right things when it comes to safety early on, and work building rapport with the trades and having a safety presence in the field. So to summarize this, field engineers are here to provide information and take as much burden off the superintendent as possible. They are not there to boss people around or to assume the super's responsibilities or to replace them or to boss the craft. Ideally, the craft foreman and the workers are working there equally with the field engineers hand in hand, not in COVID, but whatever, you know what I mean, together, working together, moving forward, where the field engineers are doing the hard things to prepare the work and the craft are doing the work in a production control system, in an integrated production control system, and moving forward, and we're making money, we're creating flow, right? And so why do I mention this? Okay, so let me tell you, people don't pay for field engineers in advance. And I told this to a trade partner the other day, and I think it was a little bit of a sticker shock. I said, in construction, especially with the CM at risk contract delivery method, contractors with owners are incentivized to not make good decisions up front and to simply pay for them out of contingency. I'm telling you right now, on most contracts and jobs that I've been a part of, it is easier for me, Jason Schroeder, to negotiate with the owner to actually fix a mistake or use contingency for something or pay a change order to a trade partner versus spending the money up front on a field engineer or the right contractor or whatever. It's easier because people think by really undercutting the costs on a project, they're going to save costs. No, that is not how it goes. There's two things in construction that if you do, you will actually extend the end date and you will extend the cost. If you try to shorten the duration of a project too much, you will actually increase the duration. If you try and shorten and shortchange a project too much, from a financial standpoint, you will actually extend those finances. You will spend more money than you thought. Now, going back to my original point, because in the United States, we contract out risk, the owners are not incentivized they're not the ones losing the money. We are losing the money. The trade partners are losing the money. Your families are losing money and time. The owners, if they can get a contractor using a CPM schedule into the chaos and blame everything on them, and then basically do a little bit of litigation or threatening, hey, I'm not going to select you for the other project. They can, I'm just going to use the word, they can screw us into losing a lot of money. And so there isn't a lot of incentive to get out of the, slash and burn, I want the cheapest cost type thing here. Like if I was an owner, or if any of us were owners in their positions, and we have to have some sympathy for them, although I still don't think it's right. That, if they hire a slash and burn contractor that underbid it, that's going to use money out of contingency and burn their trade partners out, hey, they're still going to finish the job, right? It might even be a little bit late, but that's more excuse to put the money, to say, hey, I'm not paying for these things, contractor, you're late, right? So if the contractor's late and underbid the job and they're losing money, the owner's like, yeah, I can just fight this a little bit and I can pay the least total amount for this project, right? So only the most, honest and ethical and beautiful owners out there will sign up for IPD jobs, will sign up for like the best contractors, will actually choose really positive trade partner selections and do the right thing and allow us to pay for things up front, knowing that we're not going to spend that money out of contingency. In some jobs, especially CM at risk, we're incentivized to not leave that contingency. I mean, it's almost like sometimes we're expected to use it, right? Because that was the overall project, a budget for the project, and they can't by law reallocate it, right? So we live in a very wasteful system. My point is, the reason that a lot of us don't have field engineers is because we're afraid of getting it paid for up front. But I'm telling you, in the experience where I didn't use field engineers, we at least spent $280,000 at least on mistakes that would have been prevented by having that frontline quality management there. Now, if somebody said, well, you were going to spend $230,000 anyway out of the $280 on GCs for those additional field engineers. Okay, well, I wouldn't have had the RFIs. I wouldn't have had the mistakes. I wouldn't have had the black eye. And I'm telling you, it is an absolute nightmare to build a job without field engineers, without those helpers, because superintendents need that help. Superintendents plan and execute. Field engineers get out there and do the building, do the dirty work with the foreman, with the great craft that we have, and head in that great direction. So here's my point. Our current condition is we are struggling alone, and we don't need to. And my challenge is, let's consider at a minimum, but I would encourage you to actually do it, getting yourself a field engineering program so that you can start building the future superintendents, and so that you can increase the capacity of your supers to create more remarkable experiences for your customers. And here's a little bit of shout out. Right now, like Oakland is on fire for field engineers. They have a great program. They have a great group of people. They have leads in each region that lead this effort, and they are on fire. They have the best boot camps. They right now are doing the best training. They are on fire with this. And I want everybody to be able to be on fire with this. I believe in this concept so much. Here's what I would consider successful. If more and more companies started field engineer programs, and then when people got to the field, they're like, yep, this is our culture. We're going to take you through this basic training. Then we're going to take you through these superintendent boot camp trainings. And you started to have the field leadership lead these trainings and develop these younger folks. And you hired from outside to get some diversity in there. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about a field that's unstoppable, on fire. That's how we're going to get it done. So if you want really good help, if you want more capacity, if you want to stop being held hostage by some of your bad supers because you love and need good supers, then I'm telling you, at least consider getting a good field engineering program, because they are one of the best and biggest supports for a superintendent, and we know how to use them effectively. And I'm telling you, it's amazing. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and